Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the third day, the third afternoon, evening of OpenSlava 2021. Like I said, when you're having fun, time flies. And I remember still prepping for this event, like OpenSlava is coming in again. Okay, it isn't physical, but the online version last year was great. This year, we're going to rock again, and you're looking forward to it. And before you know it, you're at the last day and you're looking at the last speakers. But the good news is, I'm super pumped for this last day. And you're going to say, Marty, you're the host. You're getting paid to be super pumped, and you're always excited about something. But really, if I'm looking at the calendar of what we're going to do today, we have speakers talking about how robots are going to take over the world, how you're going to manage the change that we've been talking about in the last few days. We're going to talk to people that are using the Unreal Engine together with AWS cloud services and mixing it up to create beautiful, how do you say that, beautiful graphics and plenty more. So we're going to do all these different things, talk about digital and how it's changing the world. So I'm super excited. I'm looking forward. I think I'm also going to understand some stuff today. I'm super happy for that. I also dressed up in a nice color. It's in Belgium. I don't know what the weather is where you are from, but here it's not very good. So I thought I'll wear something flashy, to cheer things up, because it's going to be a great last day of OpenSlava 2021. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, a lot of people have been watching on YouTube the last couple of days, which is great. So if you're that, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. You can also watch on Facebook, and also for the people walking around with their 3D models in the VSF, the virtual show floor. You can interact with us if you have the full version on there. You can ask the speakers, you can interact with me in the chat, or you can walk around, talk to partners, network, even get yourself made a digital cocktail by an AI robot based on your mood. So you can do a lot of stuff. If you're in the VSF, if you're like, I have no clue what the VSF is, go to openslava.sk and you can still register. If you do it now, then it's still worth it if you can join us today. If not, just enjoy the show on YouTube or Facebook. I'm looking at my backstage, are getting the speakers ready. The first ones are popping in, so it's great to see that everybody's just as excited, just on time. So I'm looking forward. If you are seeing this, Marnik, I'm with you on this. Let's make this a great third day. Let me know in the chat. I would be happy to hear from you. Of course, if you're in the VSF, you can interact. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, just applaud real hard. I might be hearing it to Belgium. So I'm looking at the time and we're almost ready. Before I'm gonna announce the speaker and really kick this day off, I'm going to give you a sneak peek tip that if you are in the VSF, which you can still register for, openslava.sk, you can collect badges. And if you collect these badges, you can win a Nintendo Switch. You can be in a lottery and you can win a Nintendo Switch. Now, I've been a bit sneaky and I've been poking around because I've been here for like the third day and I know where the badges are. So if you're like, I want a Nintendo Switch, I want to get a chance, well, now is your time if you're in the VSF and you can collect all 6 badges. So I'm going to give you some tips for all 6 badges. If you want to get them, you got to go join the VSF. So you got that. You can go to the exhibition area. Something's going on there. Talk to the people from Accenture and something is happening in their booth. Go to stage 2. Even though stage 2 is closed, there's still something there. For you, go to the networking lounge and talk to that robot that will make a cocktail based on your mood. I gave you 7 tips. It was only 6 badges, but if you gather those, you will have a big chance of winning that Nintendo Switch. So I just want to give you that little hand of a host. I don't know if I'm allowed to do it, but start your search and you will be able to get the Nintendo Switch. Looking at the time, I think we're ready to kick this day 3 off of OpenSlava 2021. So let's get the show on the road. Welcome back. Like I said, day 3. If you're just joining us for day 3, Welcome to OpenSlava 2021. If you're like Marnik, I have been here for the whole 3 days. Well, great that you're such a great supporter of OpenSlava and that you're part of this community, and also to the new people. Welcome to the community, and I hope also after today, I will see you next year for OpenSlava 2022. But before we start talking about next year, let's finish up this year with a great lineup of speakers and topics. And like I said, it's going to go over the place with digital. And the first one we're going to start with, and we're going to go straight to hell. I'm looking at my backstage. I already see a picture of him. So if that picture starts moving in my backstage, I know that speaker is there. But like I said, we're going to go straight to hell. And who better to guide us through hell than José, and I hope I pronounce it right, than José Suárez Guerrero. He can correct me if it's wrong, but he's going to talk to us about the front end hell, a digital journey, how to get through it, how to solve stuff. And I think it's a great opener for this third day. José is a front-end and full-stack chapter lead in Spain ATC and a certified technology architect for Accenture. So I hope he's ready. I hope he's just as pumped as me to take us through hell and guide us out of there into the beautiful world of digital and technology. José, I'm going to do a quick check in the backstage before I announce you that you are indeed ready. If you can turn on your camera, that would be amazing. You can just show a picture. That's a whole different experience, of course. There he is. Look at that. And a beautiful background. You maybe not be able to see him yet, but thumbs up, José, if you're ready to rock. He's giving me the thumbs up. Yep, he's smiling, so he's good. Ladies and gentlemen, front end hell, a digital journey. José Suárez Guerrero, the stage is yours. Kick this day off and have fun.
Thank you, Marnik, for this what a hell of introduction. And well, good afternoon from Spain, and I'm very happy to be here again. I was in Bratislava 2 years ago there, and also, like in the past, I would like to say dobre popołudnie, and dziękuję jeszcze przyszli na tutto prezentację. So, let me share the screen. And I hope that you can see it. Yes, so again, thank you very much for having me here. Well, in the end, front-end hell is something that I've been living during the last 4 years or 5 years, more or less. And I would like to explain you why the meaning of this presentation. But before that, I would like to talk only a bit about myself, as Marnik introduced me. And well, I've been the front-end and full stack chapter lead for 3 years, and just recently I've shifted to the architecture chapter. So currently I'm the technology architecture chapter lead. And for me, it's been an honor to be working because on all these technologies. And why I'm here? So after, I think it's 21 years, I started working on IT. So 15 years of development with different languages since more or less since the beginning, even with assembly. Later, I shifted to management during 5 years. And well, all that is related to that, certification, projects, PowerPoint, resources, and it's a different world. And luckily, when I started in Accenture 6 years ago, I was living. I was not living in Spain. I came back to work in Accenture. I'm still here. This is my 7th company. So during the time I've been working here in Accenture and in my city, this is what I've been doing. Is architecture, focusing on methodologies, more or less always on the front-end hell, because as part of the front-end and full stack chapter, I was also the main architect and one of the SMEs of the different front-end technologies. And that's the summary of my previous experience. So again, why front-end hell? And this is about a digital journey. And it's very important to say that this is not based on one specific project, because if you have a look to my profile, LinkedIn, or any other website where you are sharing your experiences, is based on everything. So for me, why front-end hell? So let's think about some of the top-level subjects that any project or any software project always needs to consider. So see, if a front-end project is about software engineering, is a must. This is not for some people, this is like an art, but software engineering is also a science. And I would like to think on this way. We need to apply, like in any other projects, the principle and patterns, not only based on your own experience in previous projects, but also based on methodologies, based on different ways of working, based on the experiences of another people, based also on good practices that is more or less close to the technology and the problem you want to solve. But again, you need to focus on that. And like any other project, you need to consider the architecture. The architecture is something that we can see always in backend projects with all these nice diagrams, with microservices everywhere, with API, with a lot of connections, with a lot of different approaches, different architectures, but also it's for the front end. And what about the development methodology? We have different approaches. We can go agile. We can go if it's a very big project with the safe approach, that is a distributed agile methodology. Or for all the projects, we can go to waterfall. Environment strategy is also a must for a front-end project, because you need to think on the different environments that you need to use, the development environment, where you are going to test at a functional level. If you are working in a Scrum project, for example, where the product owners are going to test your work, of course, not in the development environment. For the different type of testing, smoke tests or penetration testing, you need also a different environment for different validations. And also, what about the selection of the suitable technologies? Depending on the requirements, on the situation, different concepts, different concerns from the client, you need to pick up a different technology for the front end. It's not only a must of, because we are used to work always with, for example, Angular or React. That's what we are going to select. You need to research, you need to think, you need to rational why you are going to select this or that technology. And in the end, this is the target for any project. So we need to deliver a reliable and quality solution. So like in any other project, why front-end help? Well, because this is not happening. In a lot of cases, this is not happening, and this is the reality. This is a phrase that I used in the past. I like it personally. So most of the times, a front-end project is considered only as a bunch of web pages, mainly for the product owners, that quickly demand visual results with no time for a proper start. For me, sometimes a lot of people, even technical people not related to the front end or to the web world, think that front end are only HTML pages, JavaScript, and nothing else. Maybe styles, look and feel, nothing about user experience, of course, and show me everything as soon as possible. So sadly, this is what happening with different clients I've been working on, not with all of them. This is a common scenario, but it's not happening everything in every place. But a lot of times the clients want quick results. Okay, I want to see this as soon as possible, and they know that it's feasible. And also something that is happening that a lot of times developers are driven by this situation. So what I'm saying here, that developers are part of the problem? No, not at all. It's depending on the technology culture of the client, also because of the experience of developers, if we have architects, the technical experience of product owners, if they're focusing only on delivering functionality and not on doing it properly. So it's about the culture around what is the web world. For me, even something that we need to do in our chapters, and it is the same for every other company that want to have a chapter or a community of practice or focus on different technologies, is that you need to mentor, you need to explain or translate your experience in these different projects to different audiences. So as an example, even here in Spain, we have Mascot, is front-end and full stack help. So that was the origin of the idea of creating this presentation. And even we have a newsletter that using this mascot, and most of the times the message is again the same, that this is not only about HTML, CSS, and that's all. We need here a lot of different things that we are going to see. So the latest thing is that 2 years ago, as I mentioned at the beginning, in OpenSlava, my presentation was solely front-end architecture, and the concepts were more or less the same situation. But in this case, well, with more experience and shifting to using different methodologies that we are going to see later briefly, I think that our work has been improved. So how did this started? It's, well, I had a mission, more or less I had a request. We had a project with problems and we needed an architect to fix them. And so the message, it was say the front end, and well, as always, more or less, I'm the happy one there. So let's see what is happening. But the reality, 5 minutes later, when they explained what was happening, the reality was like in panic mode. So happy, not at all. And one important thing, because this is about not only about the front end itself, it's about the digital journey. So when we are working with a client, with the technologies, the methodologies, how they can improve the processes, how they are working, how they are delivering. So you can see in all of these concepts, it's not only about writing code. And sometimes it's the only consideration that the developers can have on mind because they don't have time to think on anything else. So when I started in this project, those were the major pain points. No methodology, no architecture, of course, no team. With that, I mean that we had a group of developers trying to do whatever they could. Everything was driven by the user. So yes, we were using Safe somehow, and we had sprints. And after each sprint, we have all developers had to demo. And in the end, the only thing that mattered was showing results, but only visual results. And of course, because when you are working in a project where you have component teams and not feature teams, so the difference between them is not subtle, but in the end is that we have a front-end team with front-end developers dedicated to the specific task. And you always need to interact with another teams, mainly API team, dependencies with a microservices team, or in the end, the backend, because you are not working alone, mainly in web projects. And also, when you start in a project, always you are the new one, you need to ask where are the things, where's the code, well, what are you using, why are you using this, do you have any rationale behind this selection, where are the unit tests, where do you have defined the test cases, and of course, where is the documentation? As you can imagine, most of the times these topics are not covered, so you don't have any reply for that, at least about the code. So in the end, sometimes what you are feeling in this type of projects, because it's not only 2 or 3 cases in my career, it is more than 10, and it's something that you will try with experience to avoid, because the initial feeling is that you are the enemy. You are always trying to sneak in, try to say, I'm the new. People are always trying to see, okay, this new guy, what he's going to do is going to demonstrate that I was doing this wrongly, or with new ideas, I'm very used to do this in this way, and he's going to propose another ways of working. So part of the digital journey is always to break the resistance from the clients and also from the people you are working with. In very big projects, it's very common to that you are not the only supplier, or your company is not the only one that is working in one specific project. You are working with other companies, and each company has their own interests, their own preferences, their own technologies, their own relationship with the client. But in the end, is that you need to work as a team with them. in the moment I am working in a project and I'm in a team, in an architecture team, for example, if I listen, hey, because I'm from this company, I think we're going to do that. Or if they need to show something, a presentation, they use their company logo instead of the logo of the company we are working for. For me, that is something that I learned to avoid. And in the end, there is a big resistance against that. So what's the situation? Again, a nightmare, more or less as always. I needed to deliver results in no time, no sleep, no fun, at the beginning only. And as I've already learned, the most important thing is about methodology. So discover, analyze, this is only a couple of different points. Define the architecture principles, and you need to explain them then, and all the teams need to follow them. Define development standards, because we know that without any guidance, all of them are going to code like they want, like they prefer. And also here, it's only as an example, we are using in Accenture ADA, that is Accenture Delivery Architectures. We have different methodology frameworks. Okay, this is only an example, and I've been using different one in the past, like TOGAF. But in this case, well, I'm an Accenture, I'm using this one that for me it's more than suitable. And what is that? So that is a cube that is defining three main concepts. We are not going to go into too much detail, but for us, the main thing is that we are dividing. It's like divide and conquer. So you don't need to create an assess or a discovery or document the as is, or explain or request for documentation because you had that experience in the past. If you're following a methodology, that will be easier to not to forget a lot of different concepts that maybe you are not related with, and we cannot be an expert on everything. So we can see there that we need to consider the principles and patterns, the capabilities and the components. And only as an example, we can see that that can break down even in more detail. So for me, that was like my starting point. I had different matrices to check what I want to consider in the at the beginning of the project. And for me, the main thing is that where are the principles? No principles? Okay, I'm going to define them. We need to explain to all the different teams in the project at different levels, to different audiences, to business, to technology, that those are the targets that I'm expecting this project. You can talk with them, you can adjust them, you can say, okay, this is not so important now, but at least you need to start with a definition of your activities, like what is important for you. So in this case, in one specific project, we explain that those are our targets. Service-oriented, secure, scalable, resilient. And you can see that more or less, this is not directly related to the front end, but front end is part of this project. So in the other way, the front end needs to be considered in all these major topics. And again, keep following the methodology, but very quickly. Like any other methodology, I insist on that. This is an example, and we are using ADA in Accenture. It's very important to reuse the reference blueprints and stacks. You don't need to start from scratch. For example, my specialty is front end. This is what I've been doing in the latest 4 years. But before that, I was working in the mobile world. More or less, I can consider that I know something, but what about data management? Well, I'm not an expert on that, but I need to consider all the data concepts. So that is the meaning of having a blueprint, to having like a checklist. Okay, I need to consider this and this and this and that. Also the same for technology stacks. As always, again, automate as you can. So part of your own methodology is to follow the methodology and apply patterns and good practices to focus on the main topics. The main topic is what I shown before, and now we are going to go a bit down in the methodology, and let's talk a bit more focus on the front end. So that is not a web page. That is not HTML and JavaScript and CSS only. We need to consider an application, and I'm not talking here specifically about single page application or progressive or server-side rendering application. is that we need to consider at software level the project structure, state management, the models, API consumers, reusable components, and this needs to follow the different patterns. But for me, it's something that when you are going to implement this in a specific technology, for example, Angular, you have it very easy to create that with different services, with a lazy loading, with the routing, all those concepts, you can get the advantage of using those and not thinking only that you have the typical monolith in the front end. So there are different approaches to break down the monolith. So we have currently the microservices approach, that it's a good one, and mainly with the latest update of Webpack 5, where we have the model federation. But well, that is another topic, but can be applied here, even the microservices architecture pattern to the front end. And what about the major topics not related directly to the code, but depending on the code? Security. Security, what is that? That was the question. No, security, that is a concern for the backend. Okay. And what about the vulnerabilities, the cross-site scripting, the injection of code, not parameterizing your the user input? And even we have an organization like OWASP 10 that is telling you what is the top 10 for the front-end technologies. So security is a major topic for us that we need always to cover. And it's not something to think on, okay, I finish my work and you are going to execute different penetration tests and later give me the results and I will fix them. I think that is not the way. That is a reactive way. We need to be proactive. And also for me, the security is part of the development and the front-end developers itself. So accessibility, well, reusability, quality, testing, performance. Again, this is part of the good practice that we need to consider in a front-end project. Related to that is, well, what is the branches strategy? What is the static analysis that you are going to use to check how your project is progressing? The repositories, are you using GitLab, GitHub, Packet? What are you using? You need to define the different processes. So the different environments. And how many environments do we need? Do we need one? No. That one will be for development, at least. You want to have productions and the code in developer laptops. This is what we found in one of the examples. But in the end, you need to define your infrastructure, your continuous integration and continuous delivery. So different concepts, again, that it's related directly with the front end. And about SEO, it's something that is always happening at the end of the project. So we create a project and later we discover that the technology we use is not suitable for SEO. For example, a single page application, a very big application, we finish this perfectly, following everything, and now we detect that Google crawler or Microsoft crawler are telling us that our page are always the same, so we are receiving a penalization for that. Are we going to change the technology after finishing the project? And this is something that in one of the projects I was working on, the meaning of migrating an AngularJS project to Angular, it was only because of the SEO. Because 2 years later, they discovered that SEO for them was a must, and it was not possible because they had a single page application, and it's very difficult to achieve a very high result. And about UX, that more or less most of the people think that is about the UI, images, design, styles, and it's a very big topic. And again, something that is always like a reactive situation is regulation laws. You are using this application in Europe, you need to consider some type of laws, and the laws are different in other countries. And also you need to integrate with the external services. So in the end, all those topics that we have here are things that we need to consider since the beginning. That need to be part of your technical design, or at least if the only and mandatory command is show me something as soon as possible, but you need to have this in mind, and you need to press to the business for trying to give the importance that those topics have. And again, going down in the technology, and for the front-end audience that we have here, this is an example, and this is about a reference stack I mentioned previously, like another blueprint. So this is the reference stack that we are proposing in our organization, and it's the simplified version. So when I want to check or analyze a project, I'm always using this. This comes from different refinations, and we are considering here different technologies, the three major ones, like Angular, React, and Vue for the front end, and Node, Express, and Angular Universal in the backend, but also security. It's part of the things I'm expecting to see in a front-end project at code level. What about the back? The unit testing. And what about the tool to check that what you are doing has quality? And the code coverage, the end-to-end testing. Those are the major topics for me that need to be covered in the front end. So for me, I don't need to be an expert on React. I don't need to be an expert on Vue to analyze a front-end project. Of course, if I know about them, that will be better. But at least I have this like matrix to check, okay, you're using this, you're using that. Later we can go into more detail, but those are the proposal for us. And you can maybe have another technology for the backend, for example. You can have an X monorepositories. That's a completely valid, but so you are considering server-side rendering, you're considering monorepository, that's fine. But at least I need to know what you have in the front end. I'm not an expert on Vue. I want to see what you have here. And what we found in this project that we are using as a reference. Okay. Fundamental pillars, yes, HTMLs. And version control, they were using Git and GitHub. Front technologies, it was a React project, and also about the build, and they were using Node, but with a very outdated technologies. And again, nothing about security, nothing about debug testing. Well, just because it was part of the default project wizard. And for me, it's something that is always happening. How to fix that? Because, okay, this is what I found, and how to fix that. Again, following the methodology is another topic, was the DevOps or DevSecOps, the CI/CD. And this is our minimum reference for the front end. And again, what we found, nothing, absolutely nothing. That was a sad reality, is that developers were creating the build in their own machines. And well, you can imagine the difficult situation, how to explain the client that my team or the team of my company were doing this. So how to fix that? Start working on that. Following methodology, again, and insist on that, is that this is the situation. So let's start with the major topic not to cover. So testing, start fixing the unit testing, start considering the code coverage, start considering the end-to-end testing, defining not only at technology level also, but at the definition of the test use cases. Start introducing the concept of SonarQube, of the quality, in this case with a SonarQube tool, and also consider security. The things that we can do about security is in the front end by developers is to check the dependencies. If you have, for example, in your package.json, different dependencies that are outdated or they have vulnerabilities. So, for example, one of the tools is npm audit that can easily tell you that if you have vulnerabilities in your project. I found 2,000 vulnerabilities. Half of them were development, but more than 100 were production vulnerabilities in a project that was in production, because they were using a very old React version. The next step, it was to fix React version. That was an upgrade, was very difficult, a lot of effort there. We need to put an order in the styles. we need to put an order also in the version that they were using for the for Node. It was not even the LTS version; it was a very old-fashioned Node version for building, and keep working and incrementing on the analysis and the work, introducing Lighthouse for performance, and SonarLint and SLint, and putting there an order again. So if you have SLint in your project with 1,000 warnings and you are not paying any attention to that, that's not the way. You need to check that and introducing rules that if you have any warning, you are not allowed to build. That cannot happen since the beginning, so you need to do that progressively. And the latest tools were SAST and DAST security tools like Veracode and BlackTag to check the vulnerabilities, not only in your dependencies, but also in your own source code. And about the CI/CD, so those are the different tools that we introduce. So part of the development work by developers were checking the rules, unit testing, audit for security, and also in the pipeline, we wanted to have SonarQube and Lighthouse. And quickly, the evidences, it's very important. So how can you show that you are progressing? It's something that should be considered since the beginning, but we couldn't do that. So after a couple of weeks, we could show something, and this was the result we had. It could be seen as something not so critical, but it was the first thing not so critical that we could show to the client. And working on the way that I explained previously, 6 months later, this is what we had. The quality gates on green, a minimum pipeline working, and this project didn't stop there. So at least that after this presentation to the client, they told us, okay, you are doing progress, you are getting results. And what I would like to explain now is about some of the lessons learned, because in any project you have different lessons to learn. And for me, what you can see there is part of the mandatory concepts to follow in a front-end project. For me, a front-end project is more than a bunch of web pages. And a bunch of web pages, this was a phrase from a product owner when I was explaining that we needed to change the way we were working. Quality and security are not optional. If you are not considering this, and when the project is finished or close to be finished, you have a lot of technology debt that you need later to fix. Methodology, good practices, principles. So for me, DevOps, DevSecOps, for me, it's a must to fix this front-end health that I'm very used to find. And well, yes, front-end can be fixed even if it's using JavaScript. So for me, more or less, that's all. And well, the end of the story is yes, we saved the front-end again. So thank you very much. Gracias in Spanish, and I will try to say it. Děkuji velmi pěkně.
All right. Thank you so much, Jose, for that beautiful kick off the third day and that presentation. The cool thing is also we had a question coming in from Fran Perez Gomez, which I also appreciate because if I'm not mistaken, Fran has been here for the 3 days. He's a big fan, is also supportive of the community, has been here, and he asked a question about how to fix it. And then afterwards you dove into the fixing, and he also said, well, my question got answered. So which is really good that you just dove in. Looking at the time and also the new speakers, we can't do any more questions, Jose, but they can, of course, reach out to you. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it yourself.
A lot.
There you go. There you go.
I didn't know about the budget for the Nintendo Switch, so I will check that later.
Oh, sneaky. So we're waiting for the third day. Like, now I got the tips from Marnik. Great. Go ahead. Go there. Claim your reward. Like I said in the beginning, also the other days, if you do claim your reward, doesn't mean you have the Nintendo yet. Because it means that you're in the lottery to get the Nintendo. It's a really important one.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Have fun. Thank you so much, Jose. Also for people in the chat with the questions, also complimenting Jose's Slovak. They say if you come back next year, your Slovak will be fluent.